When We See Each Other is expanding its focus to not only interviewing BIPOC, queer, trans, non-binary musicians, singer-songwriters, but also to discuss books, especially banned books, by BIPOC, queer, trans, non-binary authors, and also interview these amazing authors. On this episode, we're chatting with queer writer, educator, interdisciplinary artist, speaker, and podcaster Anastacia-Reneé about her genre-bending collection, Here in the Middle of Nowhere. Joining me on this discussion is poet, actor, and photographer and fellow Kavikavan cohort, Iman King Carter. Here we go. So happy spring, Anastacia. Welcome to When We See Each Other. So happy to have you here today with us to discuss your book, Here in the Middle of Nowhere, and also to discuss all things Anastacia, honestly. And I just wanted to say to everyone, I'm also joined with, the fabulous, the just amazing artist, Iman Carter, so we can all just get into it and have somewhat of like a little reunion of like from the past, from workshop, the Kavi Kava and the workshop. So yeah, once again, I'm so pleased, I'm so happy, I'm so ecstatic, I'm so nervous to have you here today with us. It's such a pleasure.
When We See Each Other is appropriate. Yes, I haven't seen you all. I've seen you all in workshop, and then we were all part of a project together. But I am always happy when I see the both of you. Um, and I know I am a guest, but I just have to say that you both are wonderful human beings on the planet Earth. And I am sure you are wonderful beings in other realms as well, but that is for another show. How is my spring? I think spiritually, spring is always a big deal for me, um, as a reset, and I am still in reset mode. It's like, all right, how do I want to plan my life for the next season? What are my new intentions? What can the plants and the animals teach me about spring? That's kind of where I'm at. Tidying up old things and resetting new things.
Yeah, 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 I hear you on that. And since you brought that up, I feel like I want to know, and I've been asking everyone that has crossed my path, and family, friends, strangers here on the podcast itself, because I feel like it's so important. Well, it's really important to me, especially to know, just to learn from others how they are practicing hope during this time. And I feel like, I feel like my way, yes, is important, but I get so much insight into not only the human spirit, but just like it gives me hope to ask that question and to hear the response. You know what I mean?
I think I had to sort of redefine for myself what I think of as hope, and that has helped me. Like, little a, hope is like, I hope I get some ice cream. And then if I don't get it, I am sorely disappointed, right? Like, everything hinged upon the hope of the ice cream. And then older A, I know the odds are against her, but I hope my grandmother doesn't pass in the hospital. I hope with all my heart, and she did. So that I had to separate that hope doesn't always need to be rooted in disappointment. And that hope also doesn't always have to be rooted in, I know it's gonna happen, I know it's gonna happen. I had to redefine hope and sort of change it into a positive anticipation, knowing that it could also end in something that I anticipated that didn't happen, but not staying in that. I feel like of all the emotions or all the feelings, hope is the hardest because you hope is like starts out at 1,000. Everything else sort of builds. You're like, I want to feel better. I'm at 20%. I'm at 50%. I'm at 75. I'm getting there. And you give yourself the space to do that. But hope feels like it has to be an immediate, you start at 100%. And for me, I had to stop doing that because no matter what, I'm going to be disappointed. How are you going to go above 100? Yeah. So I'm still working on redefining what's the difference between a hope and a wish and a prayer and a want and a desire. They can't all be enmeshed together or I'm going to always be disappointed.
Mm, yeah, yeah, totally. Iman, I know I asked this to so we met on Tuesday with Chris and we discussed the book amongst ourselves. We wanted to like just, have a moment with our peeps.
Yeah, we needed to fangirl without you around.
Yeah, exactly.
We needed
And
that space
Oh
for
my.
ourselves.
I'm glad I did not know about it.
so I posed this question to you, Iman, but how are you doing today?
I'm doing well today. Like I told you on Tuesday when we talked about how I'm practicing hope, I'm going to artists and I'm seeing as much live music as possible.
Mm,
That's what I did last night. I went to a concert last night, so I am floating. I'm buzzing. I love artists. I love music. I love people that love art and being in the crowd with people. So that gives me hope. It gives me a lot of hope to go to live events and be able to like feel the art and also to go to live events and look at the crowd and be reminded that people will show up for art.
yeah,
So that gives me a lot of hope. And that's where I'm at right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. 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 All right. So, well, let's get into it. Let's get into Here in the Middle of Nowhere. Um, I know how I feel about this book, but Iman, I wanted you to start off because I will just, you know, say things and go on and then end up rambling about it. I'm gonna let you start.
I'm honored that you think I'm not going to ramble right now either.
I'm just honored people are reading the book. I'm like, what? Amazing.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun to read. I think we said it was a ride, um, and one that felt worth it in the end. Chris and I were speaking about how we are currently in a Cave Canem workshop with Karma Mayette and have been really digging into syntax and trusting the reader and trusting yourself. And we felt that this was like such a great showing of what happens when you as an artist trust yourself and when you trust the reader to like see it through with you. And we felt like we really, yeah, it paid off. Like there are moments where we were like, are we reading this correctly? And we had to trust ourselves that we know how to read. um and that we are feeling the things we're feeling and that we can learn as we go in reading a novel or and even that we couldn't really put this in a genre. And that was really fun and inspiring, that this feels like poetry. It's not your standard poems throughout, but yeah, it's poetry. It's prose written by a poet. That's all through it. Poets are all through it. Uh, but then we have this like Afrofuturism and the like flash fiction and the love story that we all talked about loving. Um, and then yeah, this also really felt like a guide in some ways. Like even though this takes place in so many different realms, um, there were a lot of times where it felt like a guide for how to feel free and find freedom in this realm. So that was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you touched on just about everything that,
Oh, well, thank you.
I felt about this book. Like, well, first of all, I love that it paid homage to Lucille Clifton and Audre Lorde. And, that the idea of Lucille as a god and multiple gods. I really enjoyed that. And then also just viewing it in terms of like Black women as gods and as a universe, multiple universe, and the multiplicity of it, the multitudes, and that we all have multitudes, we all have various different things about us. And that was just really that was really refreshing and mind bending. And then also just kind of like, I think I mentioned on Tuesday that it took me out of my comfort zone and made me even question, what is this comfort zone that I'm in? And it was very much like an aha moment, and it was filled with just magic. Um, and I was just like, wow, I had to read this like twice because it was just so. It took my heart, and I just had to just I just fell in love with it, and I really appreciate it so much. Um, so I wanted to know, like, based on everything that we said, I wanted to know, like, what inspired this? Like, what inspired you to write this?
First of all, thank you both. I think, as a writer, you write the thing, and it's very seldom you get to hear what other people think. It's just out in the world. I'm not there with people when they're reading I don't even know if they're reading. I can't even imagine the idea at first that someone was going to walk into a bookstore and take my book off the shelf. I was like, that's that's great. That's just yeah, okay, And so I have to say that first, just starting with gratitude. But I think oftentimes people think writers, the year that a book comes out, they sort of think, oh, they wrote that book that year, and then it comes out, and it's like, at least in my case, not so. The book was written over actually a lot of years in bits and pieces. It was actually going to come out before Side Notes. Um, but I was still in revisions and editing and not feeling settled with it just being a poetry book. Um, this book was my first sort of public leap in having the receipts to show that I'm a hybrid writer. I write essays, I write poetry, I write short stories, but this book felt like a way to share with the reader how I include them all and they could all be separate. So I wanted that. It didn't start out with an arc. Like I said, it just started with little flash fiction pieces, and then I would read those flash fiction pieces and a poem would spring up. So they were separate from me. Poems were flowing, flash fiction was flowing, and then this archetype, the god Lucille, started showing up in odd ways. Like remembering the first time anybody ever says to me, "Hey, queen," I was like 16 in Kansas City, Missouri, walking home from school, and a guy said, "Hey, queen, have a good day." And "Are you talking to me? What? Some stranger just called me a queen?" Right? For me, I'm 16. I'm living in Kansas City. There's Diana, Princess Diana, and like the pyramids, Egyptian, what? Right? And so this idea of, I feel like we've lost our excitement for what it means to be a god or a goddess or a queen or something like that. And I wanted to bring that excitement back. And I also knew that it's not popular to write a book wherein the protagonist is a Black woman who's God. Already I'm losing sales this period. Who wants to read about a Black woman being God and a lot of Black gods? Not a lot of people. And so it really was a book of love, like love, leaping, hoping that whoever was reading it would get something out of it. And yes, I want, reviews. I want all that. I want it to be shortlisted and all that. But the seed for it was really like, I want a Black woman to be seen as God of the universe. And everywhere you turn, there's a Black woman God. Take that. Is kind of what I was feeling. I also needed to show that, from my opinion, gods are not perfect. It was really important to show imperfections in this book, flaws and beauty and brilliance and sadness and sorrow and what? And ooh, I wanted it all to happen. Um, and I wanted all the realms to feel like places we've all traveled before. Even if you've never been to Louisiana or Japan or Kansas City, Seattle, Brooklyn, whatever, I wanted you to feel like I've been there. Thus the title, Here in the Middle of Nowhere. I hope the here is for everybody. You can connect with something in these realms.
And we did. Yeah, that intention was felt. We spoke about that, how there were a lot of moments that were like really grounding and visceral because we felt like we were there, and yeah, you fulfilled that intention.
I'm so happy. And there's parts of me that is, in all the reviews, no one had ever talked about the 33rd Underground section of the book. And at first, I just felt so defeated. I was like, that is a big chunk of the book. And it carries on if you're following the characters. And so it's good when I can see people have read the book all the way through. That's very important to me because the characters do show up again. Yes, a toaster is giving birth. Yes, yes, it is happening. You are you are right. Um, because it's my world, I can do whatever. But I mean, well, obviously it didn't start out. That's not how that character started out. But you would only know if you were reading along to follow. So
Yeah. And that's the other thing, and another thing that really struck me, and well, it's something that we also discussed on Tuesday, was just like how it's non-linear, and that was pretty much, I felt we all agreed that it was intentional, that was intentionally done. And I associated and related the non-linear style with the lives of these characters, which completely supports the stories, right? At least that's my understanding of it. Um, and it also reminded me of this quote by young Pueblo, "A long journey is never in a straight line." And I felt like that made sense. We all, we gravitate towards like having things, in its place when, and it makes me wonder why we do that. But that's another story. I guess that's, well, it's sort of related. It's based in post-colonialism. It's based in white supremacy. I doubt our ancestors believed that things were meant to be in a straight line. I think it was pretty much non-linear in a sense. So yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up just to, add to what you were saying about the stories, and then also how they blend in with, like, each other, but it doesn't seem like it at first.
Yeah, the goal I had a lofty goal. I'm still learning as a writer, but my lofty goal was that you could read it straight through and it would be a story, or you could pick up at any section and go before or after and find the thread for these characters. That was the goal. Um, and I think I wanted it to be that way because that supported the level of magic that I was trying to put in the book. Like, I wanted the paranormal or the supernatural or the otherworldly to be normal. That's the goal of the book. That all of that, of course, I have some wings under my shirt. What? Like, duh. Like, that is kind of the world I was trying to make. Like, what happens if we all are magical? We all have some kind of something. Um, and I wanted that to be deeply felt. I think this book is a slow burn. I think that it came out. It has its anniversary in March. It's only a year old. Um, and I just feel like maybe a couple of years from now, it will start to sink in a little more. Sometimes that's what happens with books, and I know that's the story I wrote. I wrote the kind of book where you read it once, you read it twice, and then you're like doing something mundane like brushing your teeth and like, "Oh my goodness, the love letter was for her." Like, "Oh, you know, and I'm okay with that. But mainly if someone just skims through the book and they're like, "What is this book about?" And they're like, I do know that Lucille is God and all the gods are black women." That's magic. You don't have nothing else to say? That is beautiful.
Yeah,
Say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Iman, do you have something to say?
Oh, I was just thinking about like some of the when A said something about underground, the 33rd underground. I was just thinking about the questions that I had specifically for A that we
Mm,
didn't get on, like all
mhm,
these numbers, like being a nickel short of $3 all the time.
right,
And yeah, all these threes showing up, and then there was what,
yes,
27
yes.
and
The ages of the kids, and it was not in
yeah.
order. It was that's something that I noticed. I was just like, "Why is it not in order?"
Yeah, so I wanted to hear
Is
about
the
that.
youngest the oldest, or is the
About
middle?
yeah.
But anyway,
Oh,
The
y'all called
numbers,
the
we need
writer out.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna treat this like we do in workshop. The writer, aka me. So I'm a numbers person. I am not a math person. I am a numbers person. I've always been a numbers person. I count steps. I count windows. My secret gift for the apocalypse, you want to walk into a room and you want to know how many steps it took from the door to the kitchen, I will tell you 27. If you took a pause, 29. That's how my brain works. I I am a counter, and spaces, like how things fit together numerically, and it's just so weird. And that took me to numerology and what numbers mean symbolically. And then, of course, as someone who is a practitioner, there are certain numbers that are given to certain orishas. Um, and that plays a part in the book too. So there's not very much random numerology in the book. It is all for a reason. I will I will say that. And threes across cultures, across spiritualities, across religions are all significant for so many cultures and religions that I definitely wanted to I wanted someone who maybe isn't a practitioner of what I believe in to say, oh, but the number 3 is very important to me because XYZ. So it was really important to me that the 33rd Underground was the 33rd Underground and not the 25th Underground or the 76th Underground. Like, the numbers are definitely part of the subtext of the stories.
Mm.
And I'm excited that you're interested in the numbers.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know per se like enough about numerology to speak on it, and so I don't know what the number 3 represents. Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing?
In most cases, it's a good thing. Actually, I can't think of anybody's symbolism or culture or spiritual beliefs where it wouldn't be a good thing, but definitely different meanings. For
Okay.
me, personally, 3 has always represented choices and layers, divinity, um, and the triangle, right? Which for me is stable. If you asked me to choose any shape, I would choose a triangle
Yeah.
because of the feet at the bottom and the head at the top.
Top. Yeah.
Pyramid is sturdy.
Right.
Sturdy. A square, you can poke between the squares are strong. No disrespect to squares. But you can poke in between the main centers, right? I just feel like a triangle is sturdy. So 3s are important.
And it's also an odd number.
It is.
So that's interesting. Um,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Oh. Um, so speaking of that, and that was one of the devices that we're now recognizing. I think we didn't really explore enough on talking about that on Tuesday. But we did talk about the different devices that are apparent in the book, um, and which adds to it being, not in a particular genre and making it really mind bending. Um, and so, like, I really felt like the language itself was pretty explosive, but not in like a dramatic sort of explosion. It was very subtle, but when you sat with it, it was just like, oh my god, really? It's just like, wow. Like if you actually let it sink in inside of you, you felt it. Um, like, and there were many moments where I was just like, "Oh my god, this is brilliant." Like, on page, 45 where you're talking about reinventing, particularly. The writer, basically you, has said, "We are gene iterations." I mean, like, seriously? Wow, it's just like I love that. I was just like that was one of the things I was just like, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. I was just like, "Yes, that's what we are." Um, I don't know if you felt that way too, Iman. I think you did feel
Oh
that
yeah, I
way.
did. It's highlighted. Mhm. Uh, it's all lit up in here. Yes. It was one of those moments that I think A was speaking about where it just like it hits, and then I think about it and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh man, yeah."
That makes me feel so wonderful because again, I don't know. I'm just a writer. I'm like, yeah, we're iterations of genes that's passed on in our lineage. Gene, iteration. Don't make it one word. But also genes, iteration. This is
Yeah.
my mind. I'm writing in the hopes that the reader will highlight that. I worried, as a writer too, because it's so many things are spelled out. You all were talking about trusting the reader. And I never wanted the reader to think like, hello, Anastasia, I am not stupid. So I worried about going, we equals a town people, like showing, giving the reader guidance, but not too much guidance. That is one thing that I worried about. So I went through numerous edits of including those tidbits or not, and I'm glad that they didn't appear too um heavy-handed in
No,
there.
it didn't at all. I feel like, just going back to the trust, we basically trusted the writer completely and just went with the flow, at least for me. And I think for you as well, Iman.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely. And I think there were a lot of instances where I think if we were shown off the bat that this is what was going to happen. So, like, there's great use of parentheticals, and it's like, what's going to happen is on the cover.
right, right, right. Exactly.
And
Yes?
then we even spoke about, like, even when you just come right into it and we get this family tree and it's the
Yeah.
inside of the tree
Yes.
and
Mhm.
not a
Yes.
Not
traditional
the,
family tree. So
Yes.
we're
"Oh,
like, all right,
I
so we
love you
know.
all."
We
Oh
know
my
we're about to get
gosh.
into this. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Thank you
we
for
absolutely
recognizing
love and
that.
adore you.
Ugh,
Yeah.
thank you. Also, shout out to my mom. My
Mm.
mom sketched the tree.
Oh, wow. Oh
Yeah,
my
my
That's
god.
mom is
beautiful.
the, uh, who did the tree for me. But
That's beautiful.
y'all are wonderful. Thank you.
Of
This book
course.
is so important to me too, so it's been hard to let it, um, not let it go, but learn how to separate business
Mm,
from
mm,
care and love. You want your book to go out there and do all the things that it's supposed to do business-wise,
mhm.
but then for me, there's, like, the heart part of that is a little different.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you navigated that? How have you, like, really dealt with those different worlds? Because I feel like it's 2 different worlds that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah. The best way for me to navigate it is I try to just I complete them, treat them separately. Because if it's all wrapped up, it's just too much. So business-wise, I'm like, "Buy the book. I hope you like the book." Here in the middle of nowhere, I go to bookstores. I'm like, "Hey," I pretend I'm not me. I'm like, "Are you carrying it here in the middle of nowhere? I'm just wondering." And they're like, "Yeah," or "No." And I'm like, "Huh, maybe you should." Or I have to separate it because otherwise it'll just feel like there's a million of my children out there. And I'm like, "Are you being a good steward of my child? Are you handling it with care? Are you giving it the consideration and love and adoration and curiosity that it deserves?" So I have to keep them separate.
So how did you feel after writing this? O outside of, like, "Oh, relief, I'm done." Well, or did you have that, feeling? Do you
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
there was a lot of otherworldly experiences happening while I wrote the book. I'll just be very candid about that. There were times when I thought I was done, and it was apparent that spirit, uh, Lucille's ancestors, they were like, "No." And I have to be honest, a a good portion of this book, I do feel like, I can't believe I'm saying it, I do feel like it was a channeling, 'cause the way things were coming through me, even though I'm already a spiritual woo-woo person, I don't deny it, but something was happening when I was writing these stories that was working through me. Um, and so there were several times when I thought I was not done. Um, I also used a deck of there's these Lucille Clifton divining cards, and I don't know if you've seen them. So it's got pieces of her work, lines of her poetry are on cards, and you pull the cards to get a message, and the message, it's part of her poetry. So I would use the cards and be like, am I done? Like, what do I need to do? And I remember the day when the cards basically gave me a message of completion, and I remember I I did feel like, "Huh, this I think this is it. I think this is it." And I felt honored that spirit would use me to get this work out. And I did feel relieved, and then I felt really scared because I thought, like, I don't wanna let y'all down. I don't wanna I don't wanna belittle anything that is historical and true and grotesque and beautiful. So I had this sense of not dread, but just fear of it not being what it was supposed to be. And that I had to sit with, and then I had to go separate a business part and be like, "All right, I'm done. Here it is." Like, let's, you know. I'm like, please. I hope everybody that wanted to channel me through this work, wanted the stories out, wanted to work through me and my own creativity and my own story. I hope that it is doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. So you mentioned you being a channel, a conduit for others. Was there any moments where this was kind of biographical?
I think that the idea of or the feeling of what it's like to feel like when you do feel like you're in more than one realm, like you have your earthly self, but you have your spiritual self. That part is definitely biographical. You know things, you see things. You're a dreamer. You're a healer. You can, but you have to also work in the world. I think those are the parts that resonated with me the most. That I could identify with. We have this human form, but we know we're magic. We know that you have an intuition. You have all these things, but you still have to be the other things too. So I think the duality is what resonated with me the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I definitely feel that. Um, and I definitely feel like there was a lot of time traveling happening in terms of like understanding death and uh reincarnation and reinventing yourself. Um, I felt like that death is not the end, in a way. Especially that story about Susanna and how she basically her and her husband had like 4 lifetimes together.
Yeah.
And and that was just so beautiful, and it just really made me think, that it's not ending. It's a new beginning. It's another chapter. Um, so yeah, but I don't wanna dominate. Iman.
No, no. I was just gonna say I did want readers to feel that way, and also when I was writing the book, and also when the book came out, like we're all dealing with a lot of death, and so instead of running away from that, I wanted to write about it, but I wanted to reimagine this idea that well, that's it, or we got to see how good you were, depending on like what's gonna happen. I didn't want that to come through. I think about too when people look at the young people and they're like, whose ancestor is that? Like that that child, you know what that child said? That is
Aw.
you know? Y'all know the kids I'm talking about,
Right.
you
Right.
you're
Yep,
at the
absolutely.
bodega and the child is like, button up your shirt and you're like, what? times are getting hard out here. What are you, 4 years old? Right? And
Oh my
I wanted
god.
to touch on that too. Like,
Right.
you never know who you're talking to
Yeah,
or who's
exactly.
talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um, Aman, did you have something to say?
You spoke a little on this as far as that you've been writing this for a number of years. But I guess I wanted to hear more about like when Here in the Middle of Nowhere started to take shape and where that began. Because yeah, I think something that we spoke about on Tuesday and something that Chris was speaking about was it was just really cool. We felt to feel like we just like jumped into the writer's mind. And yeah, just wondering how you got there.
I haven't been to one in a long time, but I was at Ragdale residency, I wanna say maybe like 2018, and I was actually there working on another manuscript. And I mean, anybody who knows me, I have to be doing 2 or 3 things at once. My brain doesn't focus. It doesn't work that way. It has to be more than one project happening. That is when I'm in my happy space. So I was there working on another project, and I was like, "I'm just gonna, you know, see what happens. Just gonna write something else." And I was like, "What kind of world building is happening here?" I knew there was gonna be a world, and then I was like, "A spaceship is happening? Okay. Um, a motherboard is that is what started happening." So in 2018, bits and pieces, and then I had gone to mineral school, did some work on it. I gone to the New Orleans writers residency, and I was working on it. So it truly happened over time. And it wasn't until shortly before the pandemic that I said, this is not just a bunch of pieces. This is a world that I now need to stitch together.
Okay.
But that's how long? That is a long time I mean, it's not 20 years, but I mean, it's quite a long time to have a bunch of pieces. It was like quilting. It had, patches here, patches there,
Mm,
and then started to put them together.
yeah.
Or they
Wow.
started to put
Cells
themselves
together.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So not only were you writing about time traveling, you were experiencing time traveling as well, like in your life.
Yes,
When
I
you
have.
were writing this.
It is true. I travel a lot. I've lived a lot of places. I think this was one place I could put those travels and those experiences in this book. There's pieces of those real places in the book, but as an Aquarius child, I traveled a lot too, otherworldly. I've always been that way. It's strange. I truly feel like this book is just like the culmination of even younger fodder, imagining what it might be to experience the tree of life. I remember learning about the so-called tree of life when I was younger and thinking like, wow, where is she? What does it look like? And now it's in the book. There's it's Lucille's tree. She's she's posted up for the tree of life. So
It's wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's totally amazing. Um, so the other question I had about the process of writing this book was like, did you? I mean, I feel like I learned so much from reading uh, both both times that I did, and I plan to read it again, because I feel like I still need to decipher certain things in the book. But I wanted to know, like, how did you feel like you learned something, like, after going through the whole process of creating this book? I know, of course, you may have learned something, but I kinda, like, wanna know, like, when you came out on the other side, how were you either different or you were, the same, or maybe I don't know, like, I feel like there must have been some kinda transformation, unless I'm making that up.
No, you're accurate. One thing that I learned, for me, format really is a strong component in my work. So part of stitching the book together was not only where goes where and what goes what, it's how it looks on the page. I think for me, this was a test of all the ways in which I format, because I needed it to look a certain way on the page. As part of the geographical part of the work, it needed to match the feelings, the places, they needed to match in the way that they were set up. And I'm not tech savvy like a lot of my colleagues. Like, I didn't use a program. This is all tab 6 times, scooch over. Yeah, none of this is that way. So I felt proud is not the word. I felt like it closely matched the world I was building. The format matched the worlds that I was building. And that was a wonderful feeling because it took a long time to create the format. And the format is based on the words, the stories. Like, there's a reason why it's, this is like right justified and not. So that was unexpected. I'm a hybrid I love messing with format. I love it. I'm like, let's do a hybrid with an epistolary poem. Let's throw some italics, some data. But no, this felt necessary and like very important.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we're reading or seeing form, it feels like a flex.
Mm,
And
yeah.
this very much felt like, okay, everything really had a purpose and was intentional. And yeah, you saying that you were hitting each tab, yeah, that makes sense. It's like you really built this format brick by brick, and it shows and it's felt. Um, but on the notes about format, while we're talking about it, I just wanted to say that uh, one part of this that we really enjoyed was this idea of like the missing words, like fill in the blank.
Yes. Yes.
Like, choose your own adventure.
Right.
That was so cool, and fun, and yeah, that was really dope.
I'm so happy you thought so as a reader. Sometimes readers get frustrated. They're like,
Mm.
what's the word? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want it to be? But for most of us, when we use that form, for me, when I'm using the form, I have the words. This is a secret. I already have the words. I know what I wanted it to be. Then I go back in and take them away to give the reader
Yeah.
some,
Agency?
yeah. So I know what I want. I have my original, what the words are. And then I say, you know what? I want to invite them in a little more to these stories. I want them to feel a little slightly more invested. So at least in this work, that is why those blanks, and I was hoping that readers would drop something in.
Yeah, that's really cool, and we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
um,
And then also you can also, like, totally use one word one time, and then when you read it again, you can use another word.
Yes.
Um, so Yeah,
which I can't do as a writer, right? You have the book, these words, I don't get to come and change the words,
yeah,
right?
right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how does this here in the middle of nowhere compare to, or doesn't compare to, your past works?
I do not think of Here in the Middle of Nowhere and Side Notes as similar at all. It's it's like if someone took both sides of my brain and they put them on the table. They don't. To me, they're not. There's nothing similar. Format wise, my book V that came out in 2017. I think that's where I started feeling connected to to form as it relates to the geography and space of the words. So if anybody said which book of all your books is this book like close to, I would say in format it is close to V, and in storytelling it is close to Forget It. That's what I would say.
Okay. Do you have a favorite out of all of your collections?
Yeah.
Sorry, is that not
It's
like,
like, who's your favorite
oh wait,
child?
I know, sorry, never mind. Sorry, never mind, never mind, never mind.
I mean, I am that parent. They're all favorites for
Oh
different
my god.
reasons.
Okay, alright.
For different reasons. I will say this one would be considered the child that is like, oh, don't give me a pronoun. And also don't tell me how to dress.
Right.
And like, you don't know me. You think you know me. You don't know me. I'm all of these things. I feel like here is just like you can't put me in a box, so just don't do that to me. Here is the wild child. I love you, wild child. You want to sit in 3 seats, have 14 meals? Let's do it. Let's let's do it. What's your name? No, okay. I'm fine with that.
Oh,
I am
yeah.
fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's the child I have the least control over. I would say that.
Mm.
It's when I go to the bookstore, sometimes they have it shelved in fiction. Sometimes they have it shelved in poetry.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's gonna be chosen because of a poetry thing. Sometimes it's like, no, this is not poetry. This is definitely fiction. Sometimes it's like its own universe.
So anything that you wanna read that you feel like reading, anything that you feels like it's the right moment for you to read, then definitely it's all you.
I'm purposely not going to read from the book
Okay, that's fine.
because I hope that listeners will get the book so that they can get entrenched into the book the way that you all have. It's right here. I want to, but I'm not going to. Um, I will let you all choose. I could read a short excerpt from the queer novella that
Whoa.
is pretty much done,
Oh.
or a new piece in response to lack of PBS funding.
Ah, I
Ooh,
feel
that's tough.
yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah. In total, there are 3 pages, so you all get to choose.
Um, I wanna say, because I feel like it's necessary right now to speak on the things that are being somewhat kinda taken away from us, and also kind of like there's a real force towards the erasure of the truth, maybe the PBS one.
Okay.
What about you, Iman?
You know, as a PBS kid, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. First time I've shared it, it's very new.
Newish, newish, newish,
Newish.
newish.
Get home before the PBS street lights go out. 1. Mr. Rogers gifts me a red cardigan. It odors like missing daddy and saltine crackers. A white man who can putty all my cracks can make me feel safe in the palm of his working hands. I am your neighbor. Mr. Rogers gifts me a blue cardigan. If this is what it looks like to be a black girl in a safe neighborhood, drop me there with Mr. McFeely, Handyman, and Prince Tuesday. Mr. Rogers gifts me an orange cardigan. Show me the white allies digging sandcastles for my moat. Show me a father's main love just when I think I am a side note. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? 2. Bert and Ernie bop to the last night of karaoke, and Bert, who is always too quiet on the mic, starts out with, I get by with a little help from my friends. Every stripe bends against his white turtleneck, and Ernie just can't keep it together, even with rubber ducky in his pocket. And when Ernie belts out at Bert and looks at Bert one last time to keep Bert from crying, he yells, here, fishy, 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 fishy. And fish fall from the sky. And Bert and Ernie run into each other's arms, and the bar becomes Noah's Ark, and every unorthodox free animal on the street fits right in. 3. When the roots hung dry and defined the masters in 1977, you allowed yourself to be a brown egg, cracked and beaten over and over again, Kunta Kinte. I already believed in you. I already knew that you could be anything. I already knew you knew your name. So when I saw you telling me a book lets you zoom through time and space, I became a meteorite. And when Tina Fabrique and Shaka Khan outlets plugged us into joy's electricity like soul chimes, like the future, like God, and saying, I can be anything, take a look, it's in a book, reading rainbow, reading rainbow. It flew through me and my childhood, and it even rocketed my children on its back. Oh, Kunta, how many of us have your hands to thank for our sutured wounds? Oh, LeVar, how many Tobys have you saved?
Mm, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you so much. Wow. Wow.
mm.
Man. Damn.
Thank
Uh,
y'all for letting me share it here
yeah.
first.
Yeah. No, thank you for like I'm so honored. Like wow, that's so amazing. Are there any events that you're participating in or creating or anything that's coming up in the future that you can talk about just so our listeners can know about it and show up?
Be on the lookout for the queer novella shortcut in process and in progress. A lot of things are happening with that and a new book of poetry as well.
Yes. Hmm. Awesome. 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 I can't wait. I look forward to and seeing more stuff from you. I can't wait for your new book. And thank you again for coming on the show. Yeah, I just butterflies, basically butterflies right now. And
Thank
that's
y'all for
good.
having me.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And Iman, thank you again for jumping in and coming on and help, being a part of this. I love this. I love this so
Always.
much.
Yeah, I love this.
I just love this so much. Like, you guys don't even know.
We do. It's a love
Yeah.
fest. I'm
It's
like,
felt.
oh, this is so great.
It's felt. Yes. Yes.
All right. So thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for listening to When We See Each Other. I'm your host, Nikkiesha McLeod. This show is produced and edited by Jeremiah McVeigh. If you like what you hear in this show, please rate and review it in Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that allows that. And please follow us wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. Doing so helps us to expand our audience and is much appreciated. You can find more information about this show at stereoactivemedia.com/whenweseeeachother. And you can get in touch with us at stereoactivemedia@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Instagram and TikTok under the handle WWSEO Pod. Talk to you later.
This podcast is produced by Stereoactive Media.